some of us have to face the unfortunate reality of having to work with a dominating boss. A dominating boss tries to intervene in the smallest of points and wants to take control of a lot of points, which become a difficulty for us. So, dominating bosses are there at most workplaces, and the point is, how do we manage a dominating boss? A boss who tries to involve himself or herself in the most trivial or basic of tasks of ours, someone who tries to corner us, also has a negative perspective and tries to pull us down from time to time. I would share with you 8 points by which you can manage a dominating boss as effectively as possible. So the first point is understand your boss's leadership style, because that's going to be very important. So understand and comprehend the various facets of his or her personality, because people with a dominating nature may have some emotional baggage of the past. So you understanding various elements, at least on the professional front, and the person's behavior at the workplace, knowing more about it and comprehending that would always be helpful. So just like you have KYC in banking, which is know your customer, at the workplace, it's always great to have a KYB, that is know your boss. So understanding the leadership style of your boss is going to be absolutely necessary. The second point is, when it comes to dominating bosses, most of them have a problem pertaining to seeking attention. So they crave for attention, and that's the reason that they try to dominate or possibly intrude into various elements of their team members' work. And there may be a case of attention deficit for many of these dominating folks. So there you need to understand, when they speak, listen, do not cut them when they are speaking, even in case you are tempted to do so. Hear them out, and only then you should be speaking. Because the reality is, every individual has his or her ego, and dominating bosses have a higher amount of ego. And that's something which you will have to take care of. So listen attentively and only speak once your boss has completed the sentence or whatever he or she has to say. The third element is, when you communicate with a dominating person who tries to corner you, who tries to involve himself or herself into every minor task, there is also a lot of micromanagement happening. There, when you're communicating with such an individual, it's always great that you do it with data and logic. So don't make random statements. So be it email or verbal communication, always support every statement with facts and logic. That's going to be extremely vital. Because tomorrow, if there is an issue, you know that you've communicated whatever you had to your boss with the best in terms of the logic as well as the factual data. The next point is pertaining to identifying your boundaries. So always, when it comes to dealing with such bosses, you will have to identify and set your boundaries. In case at times you need to politely say no, you will have to do that. So understand that just like how you take care of the organization, you also have to take care of yourself. And where you have to politely say no, you will have to do that. Identify your boundaries. Understand you may not be able to communicate personal or confidential information with such a person, and be very careful and cautious in terms of confiding with such an individual, because it may backfire on you. So identifying your boundary is going to be extremely vital. The next point is focus on your performance. So nothing can beat any issue at the workplace as compared to performance or how you perform on your job. So focus and ensure that you're doing your very best. Your quality of performance should never suffer, irrespective of whether your boss is dominating or otherwise. Because if you don't perform and don't have high quality work, that would possibly aggravate the situation more, and your dominating boss would come after you with even greater gusto. So that's going to be extremely vital for you to understand. Then the next point is, try to identify a mentor within or outside the organization, someone who's had the opportunity to manage a difficult or a dominating boss, because getting advice and confiding in such a person is going to give you inputs in terms of how you could manage the situation better. So try to gain mentoring support. That's going to be extremely vital and beneficial. The next point, the point number 7, also document all your communication, especially critical communication with such a boss. Because in case your boss is trying to corner you somewhere, or in the future attempts to make you a scapegoat when something goes wrong, you need to have the communication in black and white, documented in the form of an email. That's going to be extremely vital. So documentation will also help you in case matters go beyond control and there has to be an escalation to HR or your boss's boss or the management. So ensure that whatever you're communicating, especially critical points, it's all documented as a part of an email. The last point pertains to your own well-being. So as I mentioned, you have to take care of yourself. So your job is important, your career is important. However, nothing is more important than you. You will have to take care of your well-being, and regardless of the perks of the job, the privileges that you obtain, in case your mental, physical and emotional health is being impacted, then there is not going to be any value or any benefit. So you will have to take care of your own well-being. Ensure that if you're having a dominating or difficult boss, you will have to take time off for yourself on a daily basis, do some meditation, exercise, and find ways in terms of how you could manage this stress effectively. So for someone, it could be music. For someone else, it could be painting or any other hobby. So try to vent your frustration, not on your boss, because that's not going to be possible. However, through another outlet, which could be in terms of meditation, yoga, painting, music, or whatsoever as per your discretion and liking. So these are the 8 points in terms of how you can deal with a dominating boss. So when it comes to most dominating bosses, my thought is these are individuals who would have had a past history of issues, either at the workplace or on the personal front. They may be that through their upbringing, you never know, or possibly because of experiences in life. However, we have to be empathetic to such people. At the same time, we also have to manage ourselves. So it has to be a combination of empathy and also identifying the right approach in terms of how you deal with such a dominating boss. So communication is definitely going to be the key. In addition to that, in case you see a scenario that in spite of whatever you do, or follow the 8 points, or at least some of the 8 points which I mentioned, nothing is working, then you will have to take a decision whether it's worthwhile to work with such a boss. In case things are not getting better and your organization has the flexibility, you can consider or evaluate or request for a different role or position in the same organization. In case you don't have that luxury of flexibility, then it may be better for you to look at opportunities elsewhere. Because if things are not getting better and for a long period of time you have to continue working with someone who is dominating, who tries to put you down and brings in a lot of negativity, your own happiness is going to be impacted. And considering that you are the most important person for yourself, you will have to take a decision somewhere. So my best wishes to you for managing a difficult boss or a dominating boss in case you have one. All the very best. Thank you for your time.